Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Ann Reardon, and this week we are debunking banana hacks. There are so many of them, they seem to be a favourite with the hack channels, and the reason for that I think is because the banana is the world's favourite fruit, with 100 billion bananas being eaten every year. That's a lot of bananas. So let's start with this clip. I did actually show you this clip in my video last time, and I didn't get around to showing you what actually happened because I put it onto time lapse and nothing happened for so long that I had to leave it on time lapse and save it over for this video. With the original clip, I wasn't actually sure what the purpose of putting a chili inside a banana inside a watermelon full of soil actually was, because it didn't show anything beyond that in the 5-minute crafts video. But while we're doing that, let's try a few more gardening tricks. They have some other banana ones, believe it or not. They've got this one. So let me show you the thumbnail. It says in a few days, if we put an aloe plant into a banana, within a few days it will have tripled in size or doubled in size. It's a lot bigger anyway, it's impressive. Now if we click on it and watch the actual video, they take a tiny aloe plant with hardly any roots, they cut a hole in a banana, and then they put a different plant that has a lot more roots in, and then they time lapse or stop motion for a few days, and then look how much the roots have grown. Now note they're contradicting their own thumbnail here because the aloe plant didn't grow at all, but the roots did have miracle growth, so we will check that one out and see what happens. I too am going to cut a hole in a banana and add in an aloe plant into the hole. But I reckon we've got room in our time lapse for one more banana, so let's see what else 5-minute crafts has going on. They have a banana and they put it into a glass of water, chop the top off the banana and add a leaf from a plant, and it will grow roots out of the top of the banana. Well, that seems really easy way of making plants to me, so let's give that a go. Chuck the banana in the water, chop the top off and add the leaf. Now let's put all of those plants on time lapse together so that we can see what happens. Now this is a real life time lapse, not a pretend stop motion one, so you can see what actually happens, and in the first few days not much happens at all. But if we take a look at this one, you can see the banana is starting to rot and we've got this gross mold forming in the water. Let's put the time lapse back on so we can see what happens next. Certainly so far there's been no miracle growth that we can see. The watermelon skin is going brown and it's starting to smell really bad. And oh dear, the aloe plant's not looking too happy. The end of the leaf that was stuck into the banana is rotting and it has no roots growing on it at all. And apart from going bad, what was supposed to happen with this one? We basically just wasted a banana and a chili. That leaves the aloe plant. Did the roots grow? No. Now I felt sorry for this little plant because it's been sitting in a rotting banana for the last week. So I put it outside in some soil and then left it for 2 weeks so we could see what the roots look like when they grow. And they're actually quite thick roots and they have these little tips on them when they're just starting to grow. So it doesn't look anything like the roots that were on the 5-minute crafts video. So anyone would think that they maybe took some roots off another random plant and then just stuck them on to pretend that the roots grew. So obviously, if you want to use banana skins and organic matter like that as compost in your garden, it breaks down in the soil and adds lots of extra nutrients and it's really good. But the plants actually need the soil, not just the compost, not just the banana. So don't follow those hacks. You're just going to waste your fruit and also waste your time, and your plants are not going to grow doing that. Okay, moving on to the next video. Forgot sun cream? Perhaps move out of the sun? Leave a banana peel in the sun for 5 minutes and your skin. Banana peel is a natural UV blocker. What are they talking about? That's just totally wrong. Now, this sort of thing annoys me because this sort of disinformation about sun and skin protection is dangerous, because if you just believed them and you tried it, you could get really badly burnt. Did you know that one bad sunburn while you're a child or a teenager doubles your risk of melanoma as an adult? Just one bad sunburn. So this sort of thing is potentially life-threatening. So It really annoys me. But anyway, let me test it out. I'm not going to test it on skin because I'm not that silly. Here I have some UV beads. Now these change from transparent to all different colours when they're exposed to UV. I'm going to leave this first bowl plain as our control so that you can see what happens to the beads normally in the sun. This one I'm going to spray with my favourite 50 plus spray on sun cream. And I'm going to put banana peel outside for 5 minutes, just like 5 Minute Craft said, and then rub that over the beads really, really well. I want banana peel everywhere to coat them. Okay, now let's take it outside and see if it works. I've covered them up so we can see the change as it happens. I have the control, the banana, and the sun cream. Let's start with the control. Take the cover off, and you can see that instantly the change in the colour. They're getting hit by the UV rays from the sun, so they're changing from clear to all sorts of colours. Next we'll move on to the banana. You can see the brown bits of banana, and the exact same thing that happened to the control is happening to them because it's got no UV protection. The UV is getting straight onto the beads and it's not going to protect you from the sun at all, apart from the little brown bits. Moving on to the sun cream, and you can see there is a very slight change in the colour. Not much at all, but that's showing that the sun cream is giving good protection, but you shouldn't be complacent about it thinking that you're safe. The best thing you can do if you have to be out in the sun is cover up, something tight weaved and dark in colour to protect your skin. As I said, disinformation about something as important as keeping your skin protected from UV rays is just dangerous and it's dumb. Now, I did think, where on earth did they get that idea from? Where could they have come up with that from? And the only thing I could find was one study where they used concentrated black dye from banana peels to dye fabric, and they showed that the fabric had better UV protection afterwards. But if you actually read the study, there was 2 reasons they gave for that. One, dark coloured fabric protects better than light coloured fabric, and they were making it black with the black from the peels. And 2, when they started, they had raw cotton that was untreated, and when they dyed it, the fabric shrunk, which meant that the weave became tighter. The holes were smaller for the sun to get through, so the UV couldn't get through to the skin. So it was nothing to do with any active ingredients in the banana, nothing at all. It was just that the fabric was tighter weaved and darker in colour. All right, next we need some banana recipes, something a bit more fun. 5 Minute Crafts has this one. They take banana peel and use a fork to cut it into shreds. Then they add some salt, powdered garlic, rosemary and barbecue sauce, and cook up the banana peel. Doesn't say how long to cook it for, and then they're adding it to a roll with some salad. Now this looks to me very similar to the vegan pulled pork recipe that has been around for many, many years, and then it keeps slowly resurfacing in different vegan channels, and then it will disappear again. I must confess I've never actually tried it. You can eat banana peel, it's not poisonous. You do need to scrub it really well because it does get sprayed with pesticides because they're not expecting you to eat it. So you need to wash it very well. Whether you want to eat it or not, I guess if you were in hard times and you were really short on food, this could count as an extra veggie. It's not a good meat substitute because it's very low in protein. But let's cook it up and give it to Dave to try. Peel the banana. Now, other recipes for this say to scrape off some of the white part, so I'm going to do that. Then use a fork to cut it into strips. Chuck that into the pan. There's already a little bit of oil in there. Add a shake of salt and a little bit of garlic powder. Then I'll just get some rosemary from my garden and add that in. Then a copious amount of barbecue sauce because I don't want it to taste bad for Dave. And then cook that up. Did you know barbecue sauce is nearly 1/3 sugar? So by heating this, we're basically making it into a savoury caramel coated banana skins. Let me taste a little bit of this. It's actually not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought that it would be. It basically tastes of barbecue sauce. The texture's definitely like eating a vegetable. It's nothing like eating meat. It's a bit like a lightly cooked carrot or a capsicum, but it still has a bit of firmness to it. And let's see what Dave thinks. I don't think this is a bad one, seriously. I think it's okay.
Do we trust it? It's been a long year. Okay. Smells good. Mm-hmm. Well, that's very saucy. Ooh, saucy, baby. I'm not sure what I'm eating. Well, it's definitely not meat.
No, it's not meat.
Unless I'm eating tentacles. It's crunchy. Put me out of my suspense. What is it?
It's banana peel.
Banana peel.
Yes.
Like the packaging on the outside of the food.
That's right.
Wow. Even monkeys peel bananas. Do people do that?
Apparently in hard times they did, and yeah.
2020's been hard times, so folks, don't throw away good food.
Let's look up banana hacks and see what they show us. Oh look, 5-minute crafts, of course, wrapping tape around a banana. Then we have a life hack zombie banana. Does that say 17 million views? Let's check out that one. He's blow drying a banana and it turns from black to yellow. I like that. I think that was clever. Let me read some of these comments. Oh, some people thought it was real. Oh no. Someone says they tried using a hairdryer and they tried all different settings and nothing worked. Oh. Let me test this one out and see if I can get it to work. I have my zombie banana, as they like to call it, and my hairdryer. No trick photography involved there at all, and you can see, I mean, I can keep going, but you can see we've got taken it from black to yellow. Of course that is faked. All you need is some erasable black ink. So the way these erasable pens work is you write whatever it is you write, and then when you erase it, the friction creates heat and the heat makes the ink disappear. So all I did to the banana was put some of the black ink from inside the pen on the outside of the banana, and then put my hairdryer on the hottest setting, and you can have fun showing your friends how to turn an old banana into a new one, if you're willing to sacrifice 2 pens, that is. What else have they got? Let's have a look. Cutting a slice from a banana skin, and then, what is she doing? She's shoving bits of chocolate into the banana and microwaving.
Πόσο έχει γίνει σοκολάτα μαζί με την μπανάνα, έρχεται και λιώνει.
It's just really hot. I'm not sure why it's like, why have you cooked the banana? Because cooked banana just isn't really that good.
Is it bad or is it?
It smells bad, but it tastes okay.
As well as being one of the most popular fruits in the world, bananas are also one of the most wasted because people throw them out when they get to zombie banana stage. In our household, I have more trouble keeping bananas in the bowl rather than stopping them going off. Because bananas are such a lucrative crop, obviously with so many people buying them, there's a lot of money involved in this. There is a ton of research on keeping bananas in the prime condition, but all that research is done from when it gets picked to when it gets to the shop. There isn't much research from the point of once it gets to your house, because once you've bought the bananas, there's not really any more money to be made from that. But people want to know how they can keep their bananas fresh once they get them home and how to stop them going brown so fast. So of course there's plenty of theories on the hack channels of what to do. If you remember when we were looking at videos in Greece, there was the one with the sellotape around the top of the banana there. And we've got videos here too, if we have a look. Blossom says you should wrap the tops of the banana in plastic wrap to keep them fresh. And then later in the exact same video, they say you should put the tops of the banana into water to keep them fresh. Gias from Greece says to tightly wrap each stem to slow down the release of ethylene gas. Now, all of these different hacks that are all saying some form of wrap the top are all based on the one idea, the one theory, which is that ethylene gas is being released from the top of the banana, and that's going to age all the bananas and the banana itself, and therefore if you wrap the top of it, it won't age, which is an interesting theory because it's the pulp, the fruity bit of the banana where the ethylene gas is made, so surely trapping it inside the banana is going to make the banana go off quicker, or at least you'd think if you were trapping it, if that's where it came out, you'd think it would start to go off here because you've got a blockage there. But who ever said that it comes out of the top? Like, where did that theory come from? Doesn't it just come out of the whole banana? So I did a bit more digging to find out, where did this theory come from in the first place? Back before 2012, there was no mention of it on, if you do a Google search going back before that date, all you can find when you search for wrapping the top of bananas is banana wraps. So bananas wrapped in flatbread and making recipes doing that. There's no mention of it. And then in 2012, there was this article by lifehacker.com that tells you to wrap the top of bananas to stop ethylene gas escaping. And at the end of their article, it says, don't take my word for it, wildebeest. Links to a number of papers on the topic. So let's have a look at those. Not found. Click on the second one. Not found. It's not looking good. And the last one, error not found. Okay, so the 3 bits of information that this is saying is proof are not even there. So then I tracked down the wildebeest article, and that was not in English, so I translated it to English, and long story short, 2 of the links were nothing to do at all with bananas ripening. That bit of what he'd written wasn't about that. The only one relevant link was a broken link, but he had written the name of the person who did the study, so I managed to look her up and find that study. Interestingly, when I read that, she didn't mention anything about it. What she did mention is that avocados in that little top section have, in the actual skin, a higher concentration of ethylene at the point where they fall off the tree, and that aids in them falling off the tree. No mention of them exuding gas from the top, and no mention of that being the case in bananas, or that even being tested in bananas. So from that one little piece of information, someone has come up with this theory, which has been picked up by another website, which has just gone like wildfire all over the world, even to Greece, which just shows you how quickly misinformation can spread around the world. And now people are wasting their plastic wrap and wrapping the top of their bananas. But I know some of you are still not going to believe me, so we're going to put some of these to the test. But first of all, let's see what else there is that is on offer for preserving our bananas. I like this one on Reddit. Someone suggests that we should paint our bananas yellow because that will stop them turning brown. 5 Minute Crafts also says that hanging the bananas will prevent them from ripening. That's an old one that's been around for a long time. And Blossom says if we put an apple in with the bananas and then seal that with plastic wrap, the ethylene gas, again, released from the apples will ripen the banana more quickly. So let's do a banana storage wars. For this experiment, I have 2 bunches of bananas, and what I'm going to do is take 1 banana from this bunch and 1 banana from this bunch. So we have an even pair of bananas, and that's going to be the same for each test, 1 banana from each bunch. So for the first pair, let's tightly wrap the ends in plastic. For the second pair, let's place the ends in water. It's actually quite hard to get these to balance in a bowl of water. And for this one, I'm dipping both ends into hot wax. I think they might need a second or a third coat to give that good coverage. Next we have hanging bananas. Let's put those over there. There we go. And the Blossom idea of enclosing them in plastic with an apple to ripen them up faster. This one, even if the banana itself is just releasing ethylene gas, by enclosing it in the small bag, should make this one go browner faster. And I'm adding in an extra one. These bananas are going into the fridge, which, as you may know, will make the skins go brown faster, but I want to see what happens on the inside. And these 2 bananas are the control bananas, which means I'm doing nothing to them. I'm just leaving them as they are. And here we go. Let's see what happens. Now let me just pause that time lapse there. I'll show you what happens over the rest of the days in a minute, but I know some of you are already angrily typing in the comments. You can keep going, don't let me interrupt you, and saying that you can't do the experiment like that because the ethylene gas from the control banana that doesn't have its end covered is going to affect all the other bananas, and therefore they're all going to get ripened because of those 2 bananas. Well, as I already said, that is kind of based on a misconception that the ethylene gas is going to come out of the end of the banana, and it's also based on the thought that ethylene gas makes the bananas ripen faster, which it kind of does, but I feel like I need to explain the process that these bananas go through before they get to you for you to kind of understand how this works. So the bananas that you get in store before they've got to you, they are picked while they are still green. On the bigger farms, they're then transported by a conveyor belt through the processing area where they're washed, cut into smaller bunches or hands, and then they use water to carry them because that helps prevent bruising, and then package them into cartons. These are then held at 13 degrees centigrade or 55 degrees Fahrenheit and transported in these refrigerated trucks to the ships, and on board the ships they're stored in temperature controlled containers. When they arrive at the docks, they are still green, and because they've been picked so early, they're just going to stay green unless they're triggered to ripen. So they go to a special ripening facility where they are packed into a very small room for the amount of bananas that are in there, and ethylene gas is pumped in for 1 to 3 days, and the room is pressurized to make sure that gas is concentrated and gets around all of the bananas, and that triggers them to then start the ripening process. All they need now is a little bit of warmer temperature and they'll go from green to yellow to brown. You can't stop that process now. It's happened. The ethylene has triggered the process. It's going to keep happening. Now, normally bananas would make that ethylene themselves internally when they're still on the trees, but what they've found with bananas that have been triggered to ripen with all that external ethylene is they actually don't produce much internal ethylene anymore at all, because they don't need to. The ripening process has already been triggered, and it still does make a little bit, but not much. Okay, let's see the rest of the time lapse. From the outside, they all seem to be ripening fairly consistently, apart from the ones in the bag. Surprisingly, they were supposed to ripen first, and you'll notice that none of them are ripening at the stem end first, which if we were blocking in ethylene from coming out of those ends, you would imagine that to be the case. Okay, let's have a closer look. This is our control banana. It's overripe and super soft, as you'd expect after all that time. This is the wax coated one. It's very similar to the control. The ones that had the tops in water, that is really soft. It's even softer than the control one. Hanging bananas and the plastic wrapped bananas, both of those are very similar to the control. They'll be good for milkshakes. And now for the ones that were in the bag with the apple. These ones look great on the outside, but they feel weird. They feel like an old soft banana. That is just bizarre, seeing a yellow banana that hasn't browned, but the texture is really, really soft. It's like they've been cooked or something. Next, we have the two from the fridge, which of course look really dark on the skin because the coldness of the fridge damages the skin. But after 9 days, they're pretty much still firm and very much edible just like that. According to the studies I've read, the best thing you can do at home to help slow the ripening of your bananas is to control the temperature that they are at. The best temperature for bananas is 13 to 15 degrees. Our fridges are about 3 degrees, so it's a little bit cold for bananas, but I'm assuming you, like me, don't have a separate banana fridge. So they can just go in your normal fridge once they are ripe. If you put them in there when they're still green, they're not going to ripen up, and that's not going to be any good. The skins will go brown because it's a bit too cold for them, but the inside is going to stay good. So that is one of your best things you can do. The other thing you can do is make sure they're not exposed to sunlight. That's going to ripen them faster. And humidity. A high humidity will reduce the water loss and will keep them from going brown for longer, which is probably what the effect of it being in the bag was. By sealing it in there, we ended up with it very steamy and high humidity. If it's too wet though, it's going to cause it to rot. So probably don't store it in a plastic bag. As you can see, it ripened on the inside anyway. So your best option is to put them in the fridge. Now, we can't have all this talk about bananas without mentioning Panama disease. If you've never heard of Panama disease, it is a fungus that is affecting the Cavendish bananas, which is the ones that everybody eats that are exported all around the world. Basically, it's in the soil and it gets into the vascular system of the plant and clogs it up. So it can't get nutrients and it can't get water, and it basically is choking the plants. So once one plant gets it on a plantation, it takes about 3 years before the entire plantation has it. There's currently no fungicide that will kill it, and it can survive in the soil for 40 years. So if a plantation gets it, it pretty much, once it's wiped out, that soil, that area cannot be used for growing bananas anymore. Which, this is pretty crazy. This same thing happened in the 1950s with a different breed of bananas called the Gros Michel and wiped it out. We don't get it anymore. Since 1965, it hasn't been sold to the mass export market, hasn't been sold to stores. So this could wipe out bananas as we know them, which would be really sad for people like me who like eating bananas. But even more so, imagine if this was your source of income. If you lived in a country where you grew bananas and your family was all employed in the banana processing thing, this is devastating to them. Not only that, in those rural areas, bananas can make up to 25% of the nutritional intake of the area. So this is a mass food shortage issue for a lot of people. Fortunately, a professor in Australia has been working on this problem for several years now, and he has found a wild banana that is resistant to this Panama disease, and he's basically taken that gene that makes them resistant and put it into the Cavendish banana and made a Cavendish banana plant that is resistant to TR4. They've actually planted crops of it in soil that's been infected with TR4, where it's wiped out whole crops, and this crop has survived and has been good. The problem with that is obviously it's genetically modified, and a lot of people are very anti-genetically modified food. I'd be interested to hear in the comments what your thoughts on that is. Obviously with GMO is one thing to talk about it when you're just talking about something being nicer, but when you're talking about wiping out a quarter of people's food supply, it's a completely different conversation. One interesting thing or thought that I had is, well, why don't we just eat the wild banana? If that's naturally resistant, even if it looks a bit different or it's a bit weird, why don't we just have that one instead? And then I saw that that one's not edible. Inside it, it has hard, large seeds, and so many of them that there's not really any banana flesh in there. So there are lots of other varieties of bananas, but there's not another one that's like the Cavendish. There isn't another one that is what we're used to. A lot of them have seeds, not all as large as that one, but a lot of them do have hard, large seeds in them, or they're just completely different. So let me know, have a debate about GMO in the comments. I think that'd be an interesting one to see where you guys stand on that. And a big thank you, of course, to my patrons for all of your ongoing support. You guys are legends. You allow me to spend time doing research and debunking fake things and bringing up important topics like Panama disease so we can have discussions about those. You can watch more of my videos here. I really appreciate it when you do that. That helps me out a lot as well. And subscribe to How to Cook That, turn on the notifications, you know the drill. Make it a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.